Back here again on the Real Kipper at Noon show, off-season edition, but for not long, we hope. January 13th, that's the talk. Also the talk of the divisions. And as you can see, we've gone through them, and please give us your comments. Tell us what you think as we go through the North, the West, the East, and the Central. So let's focus on the West now. Bring in my colleague, Doug Maclean, sitting so comfortable in the skies of FLA while I've got my turtleneck on. Mac, did you play 18 today?
Didn't play today, but I was very disappointed the other day. I parred 18 and ended with a 90. I had a 4-foot putt for birdie for my 89, but hey, I'm a 90s guy. That's what I am.
Yes, I'll leave it. I think you're a 60s or 70s guy. And I'm not talking golf score here. I'm talking decades. All right, Mac, listen, we're going through all the divisions. Nothing's written in stone. As we know, they're going so much to work on still to get to January 13th, and nothing's really been finalized. But this is the way we see things shaping up. And as we go through the divisions, I want us to focus now on the West, because there are some good teams here, but there's also teams, Mac, that will continue to struggle. So let's start from 8 on our way down to number 1. How do you see that shaping up in the West?
Well, I think it's pretty simple in the West. I think you've got LA Kings in the 8th spot. For me, I've got them as one of the 2 worst teams in the entire NHL, them and Detroit. And I just think there's nothing to get excited about there other than I like their goaltending. After that, you got some individuals you like, but I just don't think there's enough there to get out of the 8th hole in the West.
So are you talking about Cal Peterson taking over, or are you talking about Jonathan Quick when you say you like their goaltending? Because there's been so much talk about Quick getting out in terms of alleviating some salary cap room. All of a sudden, we see some goaltending needs.
I see them as a combination right now. I see help for Quick, maybe to give him a little more rest. Eventually, the money will become an issue as they continue this rebuild. But to me, I've got their goaltending as one of the few bright spots. But that could change, as you said, if Quick was to move out because of the dollars. But I just don't see anything else. They've got a weak blue line to me, other than Doughty and a couple of guys. And up front, they're just very average after Kopitar and a couple of guys. So for me, it's not a good situation with the LA Kings, and I've got them in 8th.
Wow, Stanley Cups short while ago, and now talking about one of the bottom feeders in the West Division, which leads us, Mac, down the road. And I'm with you 100%. LA, not even close to prime time yet, but neither are other Southern California teams. And now we start talking about the likes of Anaheim and San Jose. That's where I've got 7 and 6, respectively. But where do you have those teams?
I've got Anaheim in the 7th spot, and to me, they're a major disappointment with what's gone on in Anaheim in recent years. I mean, Bob Murray's been a long-time GM there. Dallas Eakins comes in as the coach, and they really didn't make any strides. So I've got them in the number 6 hole, but I've got the Chaika-built Arizona Coyotes as number 6. I mean, what is going on? They're at the cap or over the cap, and they are, in my opinion, a mess. The Kessel deal is a disaster. There's a bunch of guys that have performed way under what their expectations are, and I'm talking Ekman Larson and talking numerous young forwards there. So I've got it LA, Anaheim, Arizona, and I don't like any of the 3.
Like shuffling the chairs on the Titanic between those teams. And I've got San Jose, Max, still a disappointment. And you just think where their heads were with the thought of getting Erik Karlsson a few years ago, Norris winner, a guy that can control the game, dictate the game, And yet, right from the get-go, never found chemistry between Burns and him, whether they play together, apart. It never really materialized, and it just seems like they've been chasing their tail ever since.
It's been a disaster. I remember when Carlson came and he played in his first playoff there. I did the series for Sportsnet. He was on for 21 goals against in the first round of the playoffs. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Don't let him on the ice 5-on-5. Granted, he was injured. I'll give him that. But last year was not a whole lot better. Jones in goal continues to disappoint for me. Look, their forward I kind of like, but I just can't warm up to this back end. And it's unfortunate for Burns in the prime of his career that he's on a non-playoff team. And that's where I have them. And that goes for some good guys up front, and Couture, Hurdle, and a few guys like that. But this is a team that has made a couple of bonehead deals, and it's really cost them and set them back.
Okay, we're in agreement on the bottom four, which leads us to a top four, Mac, that could be argued as good as anyone in any division. I wonder what's going to be left out of the likes of Colorado and St. Louis, even Vegas, when it comes down to who can get out of the West and represent this division in a Final Four, because this is where it really gets interesting here.
Well, I still think it's going to be interesting in the 4 spot, because I've plugged Minnesota in there since they moved over from the other division, but I don't like them a whole lot either, although they've got some nice young parts there. The interesting battle for me is going to be between St. Louis and Vegas. The hatred that is there right now to fight for the 2-3 spot. Who's going to win out the 2-3 spot if Mini are in 4? So all of a sudden, you've got the Pietrangelo deal to Vegas. You got Krug to St. Louis. You've got the loss of Allen as a backup. Who is going to win St. Louis Vegas battle? And I have got St. Louis finishing in second ahead of Vegas. And we don't know what Vegas is going to look like between Fleury, Pacioretty, and whoever else maybe moved out of there for cap reasons. We will see. The owner says they're not making any trades, but there seems to be a buzz out there they could be moving somebody.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts of the top 3, and I agree with you with Minnesota, lots of pressure. Again, so many of these contending teams, or supposedly contending teams, have got a salary cap issue. How much pressure to move Matt Dumba for Bill Guerin?
Well, I think there is pressure, and it's been talked about. Like, am I wrong to say that Matt Dumba's name's been out there for 2 years?
Yeah.
And it continually is. It's almost reminiscent of Tyson Berry's name being out in Colorado for 3 years. For whatever reason, cap reason, whatever it is, they would like to move Matt Dumba. He could help some teams, but that is a sticking point there. And as Billy Guerin is trying to set a new culture, make a new, change the culture in Minnesota, he's trying to make some changes. And Dumba looks like he could be one of them.
So that leaves us to pretty good teams in the top 3. I look at St. Louis now. They lost a character guy in Alex Steen, who retires with back issues. And Ryan O'Reilly comes in as the true leader now of this hockey club. Jordan Binnington did fade Mac in the bubble, and we didn't see a level that ever came close to the one that won them the Stanley Cup. In terms of Binnington and his ability to rebound, can St. Louis compete now with Colorado?
Well, I don't have them. I have them competing with them in Vegas, going head-to-head and being an unbelievable battle in the 2-3 spot. I don't see the 2-3 guys competing with Colorado. I really don't. Look, Blues will miss Pietrangelo defensively. Krug will help offensively. Krug's got to be solid defensively as well. I love Krug, but that's going to be fun to watch. Colorado, to me, is by far the number 1 team, albeit their goaltending still bothers me. We saw it in the playoffs. It cost them dearly in the playoffs last year. It has got to be a lot better. but they are just, that blue line with Makar and company are so damn good. I love their back end, and up front, I think they're special. So I've got Colorado as a runaway, not a runaway, but I've got them as a runaway number one.
Speaking of goaltending, Mac, there is little argument that Vegas could have the best 1-2 punch in net in the entire league, yet no one saw Marc-Andre Fleury and Robert Lehner starting, especially the management team of George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon. I mean, that alone is an issue for no other reason that I think it could be a little uncomfortable at times.
Well, you created a lot of this with your Lehner 5-year, $25 million contract in the drawer, sort of set the hockey world upside down in the spring when you talked about that, including the Vegas management group. And all of a sudden, it's put some pressure on them because Fleury at $7 million, Lehner at $5 million, and nobody wants $12 million in their goaltending, especially when you're trying to win a Stanley Cup.
Well, not only just the money, Mac, but the fact that both of them feel like they're number one goalies and are going to battle it out. And, sometimes it can be healthy, but I think this one's just a little bit over the top in terms of trying to create that environment. They're both going to be professionals about it, Mac. But underneath, I'm not sure how it can just come across as nothing but positive when Marc-Andre Fleury, the only reason Marc-Andre Fleury is not a Pittsburgh Penguin is because I heard that the management team didn't want to give up a first-round draft choice to send him to Pittsburgh. Right. And I'm wondering, Mac, would you have done that deal a month and a half ago, 2 months ago?
Look, Vegas have tried to jump way too quick, in my opinion here. They had a overabundance of picks. All of a sudden, they've moved a bunch of young players, a bunch of picks. I'm talking Suzuki. For them to give up another first-round pick to move a contract, that is hard on a GM's head. And not only that, you've got your owner chirping in the background that Fleury is the face of our franchise. He's our most popular player. That's pressure a GM doesn't like to have on his shoulders at this particular time. So it's not a great situation. I know they'll be professional. We know that Fleury is the consummate professional. Lehner's had issues. Lehner's had issues with conditioning. Lehner has better be and look, he's been real good, Lehner. He's been real good for them. And he was real good on the island. So, they've got to make a change here somehow to move that $7 million. But to give up a first-round pick for a mistake, that is ugly.
I would be all over a guy like Marchessault and Riley Smith. That at $5 million, I would try to get those guys if I was a team that had a little bit of wiggle room here.
Well, Riley Smith, I remember Gerard Gallant telling me umpteen times Riley Smith was one of his favorite players because he's a smart player. Marchessault can score. I cannot believe that they would consider moving Riley Smith. I think he's that good. Pacioretty is the guy they've got to figure out. I mean, it's one thing to give up Suzuki and young people to get him, but then to give him a $7 million contract, that one has an odor to it for me.
Who is going to pick that contract up?
I don't see anybody.
I'm hearing some teams like New York. Come on, how are the Rangers? No, they're floating out the New York Rangers. Why would they pick up that contract?
The Rangers have too many good things going for them right now with their group of young players to go in that direction. They would be crazy to go there. So Pacioretty to me, I just, not a good deal at this particular time, and it's hurt.
Let's finish off with Colorado here. Not many holes, Mac, in this lineup. Makar, arguably one of the best defensemen in the league already. One of the best players in the world, and Nathan MacKinnon. The wings look good. Nazem Kadri took that depth level, right, to a contending for the Stanley Cup mode. So where is it now? Where is that one head scratcher for Colorado here? Is it Grubauer and Francouz?
I think it is. I mean, injury last year, and they lost because of it. It was ugly, the goals that were being given up by this team last year in the playoffs. So they've got to make sure now, can the goaltending, can they stay healthy? Every team's going to have 3 goaltenders, but still, having 3 goaltenders is one thing, but the 2 and 3 have got to be good. And no, I don't have a problem with Grubauer, but after that, I have a problem. And the other guy, Francis, has not proven himself to me yet. Too good a team. Tyson Barrie's name was out there for 3 years, as I mentioned. And the reason it was out there, because they were waiting to get the ideal number 2 centerman for him. And you hit it. They got him in Calgary. I think it's changed the whole look of their group.
All right, Doug Maclean, Nick Kypreos, Real Kipper at Noon show, going over what we believe would be what divisions would look like come puck drop January 13th. There you have it. At number 1, both Mac and I agree, Colorado. No looking back for this organization. Very disappointed in the bubble. They want redemption, and so far they're getting our respect at number 1. We get a little dicey on 2, 3, and 4 in the West. Mac's got Vegas at number 3. I've got them at number 2. And then we work our way down to number 4 with Minnesota Wild. So there you have it. There's our rundown of the Western Division. For all of your rundowns on divisions, what we think will shape up for the 2021 season, there you have them on the list. Hit either any one of them to get what you think will be a good look at what could contend for the Stanley Cup. I'm Nick Kypreos, Doug Maclean. Please, first-time watcher, subscribe, hit the like button for Mac, and we'll see you next time on our divisions.